The Galactic Empire Council chamber was normally a quiet and controlled place. Today, it felt tense and crowded, as if the air itself carried fear. Dozens of high-ranking officials sat in tall silver chairs, looking at the large holo-screen in the center of the room. The screen showed the same thing over and over again, a short recording of the unknown ship that had appeared near the border system. Every official stared at it with tight faces and worried eyes. The recording began with static, then slowly cleared to reveal a dark starfield. In the middle of it floated a ship unlike anything the Empire had cataloged before. At first glance, it looked old and simple, almost crude. Its shape was more straight lines than curves, and its hull did not glow with the smooth light typical of modern energy shields. The council members had laughed the first time they saw it. Many called it a broken probe or a primitive cargo shuttle, but the laughter ended quickly when the ship powered up. The moment its engines activated, the sensors in the recording exploded with impossible readings. Even through the low resolution, the numbers were clear. The ship carried power levels equal to a dreadnought, compressed into a body much smaller and lighter. Every time the recording replayed that part, the room grew colder. Grand Minister Loro shifted in his seat, his thin fingers tapping nervously on the table. He had served the Empire for 40 years and thought he had seen every threat possible. But this was something else. He pressed a button on his chair and leaned forward. "Begin the sensor analysis again," he said. An officer standing near the screen nodded and replayed the data. But figures flashed up: shield density, weapon potential, engine output, and structural strength. Numbers climbed far beyond what any Empire ship could produce. The officer's voice shook slightly as he spoke. "These readings were checked by 3 different labs. They all match. The ship carries technology that does not exist in our records." The council murmured among themselves. Some whispered about secret factions, unknown species, hidden civilizations. But one word kept appearing in the room: humans. The old historian, Master Ron, slowly stood up. His back was curved with age, and his robes dragged on the floor as he approached the center of the room. Many officials looked annoyed. Ron was known for telling stories and legends, not facts, and most believed he lived too long in old books. Still, today they allowed him to speak because his name appeared in the early reports. "You called for me," Ron said, his voice soft but clear. "Because of the rumors." "Not rumors," Minister Loro said. "Your old writings mention humans. Primitive, scattered, weak humans. Yet the ship broadcast a message. The language matches ancient Earth dialects. Explain." Ron nodded slowly. "Long ago, before the Empire rose, there were records of humans. They spread through small colonies, but never reached deep space. They were behind in technology, yes. Many of their colonies fell or vanished due to wars and disasters. For centuries, no one saw them. They were believed to be extinct or living on forgotten worlds." A nervous officer spoke up from the corner. "Then how does a primitive race build a ship like this?" Ron looked at the holo screen again. "If they survived somewhere hidden, they may have grown without contact, without being limited by the Empire, without following our scientific path. And if they discovered something new, something we do not understand, they could rise far beyond us." The room fell silent. The idea of a hidden human civilization developing advanced technology sounded absurd. But the evidence floated before them. The ship in the video was not a trick. The power was real. The message was real. Terrans, Earth fleet. The words burned into every mind. Minister Loro rubbed his forehead. "So we have a species once considered harmless, possibly extinct, now returning with technology that breaks our science. This is not good news. It gets worse," the officer added. "The ship left the system after delivering the message, but our sensors show it moved faster than any warp engine we have. It simply bent space around itself and vanished." A heavy sigh moved through the room. Fear, pride, and confusion mixed together. "What does this Terran ship want?" Another council member asked. "Why reveal itself only to leave instantly?" Ron folded his hands. "It may be a warning or a test. Perhaps humans want to see how the Empire reacts." "And how do you think we should react?" Loro asked. Before Ron could answer, the chamber doors slid open. A messenger rushed in, breathless. "Minister, the fleet commander who first saw the ship has sent a new report. The Terran vessel did not simply pass through the sector. It scanned everything. Our ships, our weapons, even our planet-side defenses. The council stiffened. It studied us? Minister Loro asked. Yes, the messenger said. And the commander believes the ship held back. He said it showed only a fraction of its true energy, and for a long time, no one spoke. Every official felt the same cold realization. If the Terrans had truly returned, they were no longer weak, and if they were watching, the Empire might be facing a power that did not fear it. Minister Loro rose from his chair with a troubled expression. Prepare a pursuit fleet. We must find this Terran ship, but warn the admirals approach carefully. Do not threaten them, not until we understand what we are dealing with. The council chamber dimmed as the orders spread across the Empire. Somewhere in the distant stars, the Terran ship moved in silence, leaving behind a galaxy that suddenly remembered an old species and began to fear what they had become. The Terran warship drifted through the empty stretch of space like a silent shadow, its dark hull absorbing distant starlight. To most sensors it looked almost invisible, but inside the ship, Captain Riley and his crew worked with calm focus. Every officer on the bridge moved with quiet discipline, their steps light and precise, as if they were trained to control not only their bodies, but even the way they breathed. The ship felt alive in a strange way, humming softly beneath their feet. Captain Riley stood near the main display, watching the holo map of the region. His face was calm, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. A faint blue light danced across his uniform as new data appeared on the screen. Behind him, officers spoke in low voices, adjusting settings, analyzing energy traces, and quietly sharing updates. No one looked stressed. No one looked confused. It was as if they expected everything that was happening. Another Empire squadron has entered the region, said Lieutenant Mara, her voice smooth and controlled. They are keeping distance for now. Their weapons are not charged. Riley nodded slowly. They're scared and curious. Mara gave a small smile. They probably think we're ghosts, Captain. Maybe we are, Riley replied in a quiet tone. Then he turned his attention back to the display. Continue monitoring. No hostile action unless they fire first. Yes, Captain. The horizon, officially the TNS horizon, was not like any ship known to the galaxy. It looked plain, but the metal was far stronger than normal alloys, forged in pressure fields that the Empire had never discovered. The engines did not rely on warp jumps or hyperdrives, but instead on a strange folding force that bent space around the ship. Even the Terran shields behaved differently. Instead of resisting energy with brute strength, they absorbed it, twisted it, and returned it to the void. For the Terrans, this technology was normal. For the rest of the galaxy, it would be impossible. As the crew worked, a young communications officer turned toward Riley. Captain, incoming hail from the Empire fleet leader. They request a meeting. They sound tense. Of course they do, Riley said. Patch them through. The holo projector flickered, forming the image of an Empire officer with stiff shoulders and wide, nervous eyes. He tried to sound firm, but his voice betrayed his fear. This is Commander Vathan of the Imperial 2nd Patrol Fleet, Terran vessel. State your purpose in our controlled space. Riley kept his tone neutral. We are passing through on a long-range survey mission. We have no hostile intentions. Vathan's face twitched. Your ship scanned our defenses without permission. Riley answered calmly. Your fleet blocked our path and armed their targeting systems. Scanning you was the safe thing to do. The commander's eyes flickered to the side, as if someone off-screen was whispering instructions. The Empire demands further explanation of your origin. Terran ships have not been recorded for centuries. Riley studied him for a moment. We know, you know. Vathan asked, confused. Riley gave a small nod. Your Empire believes we vanished. That Earth fell, but humanity survived. We grew, we advanced, and now we are exploring again. The commander swallowed hard. Your vessel carries technology beyond our understanding. We require clarification. Clarification? Riley said, raising an eyebrow. Or control. Vathan's jaw tightened. Riley leaned forward slightly. We have no interest in joining your empire. We have no interest in your wars. We want peace, but we do not respond well to threats. For a moment, the commander said nothing. Then the holo-projection cut out without warning. The bridge stayed silent. Lieutenant Morrow let out a slow breath. "They're scared, Captain. Dangerously scared. Fear makes people unpredictable. That's why we keep calm," Riley replied. Hours passed. The horizon moved at a slow pace, giving the Empire time to decide. But Riley had lived long enough and seen enough to know what was coming. The Empire was too proud to let unknown power pass through their space without trying to control it. Pride was more dangerous than any weapon. Control it. Pride was more dangerous than any weapon. "Captain," Mara said suddenly, "we are detecting small Empire craft approaching. They are not attacking, yet. Looks like a shuttle carrying a diplomatic team." Riley nodded. "Prepare to receive them." The shuttle approached carefully, almost painfully slow, as if the pilot feared touching the horizon would make it explode. When the docking bay opened, 3 Empire officers stepped out, their uniforms crisp but their faces tight with unease. Terran guards stood on both sides of the bay, motionless and silent. The officers glanced around at the horizon's interior. It was simple and clean, almost empty, with smooth walls and quiet lights. But there was something unsettling about the place. Nothing on the ship felt wasted. Nothing felt exposed. Everything seemed to have a purpose, hidden, controlled, and powerful. Riley greeted them calmly. "Welcome aboard," the lead officer bowed slightly. "I am Envoy Terrell. We are here on behalf of the Empire to understand your presence and your technology." Riley smiled slightly. "You won't understand our technology today, but you can ask your questions." The envoy nodded and walked beside Riley along a quiet hallway. As they moved deeper into the ship, the Empire officers whispered among themselves. They felt that the horizon was not just advanced. It was something else, something built by people who pushed limits until the limits broke. Eventually they reached the observation deck, where stars stretched endlessly across the glass. Envoy Terrell stared out, then spoke softly. "If your people have become so strong, why return now?" Riley looked at the stars too. "Because a galaxy that forgets humans is dangerous, but a galaxy that fears humans is even worse." Terrell turned to him. "And what do you want the Empire to do?" "Not panic," Riley said. "But I don't think that will happen." And somewhere far behind them, the Empire fleet prepared plans that would prove him right. The Empire shuttle detached from the horizon and drifted back toward its fleet, with a shaky flight path, as if its pilot was still unsure the Terran ship would let them leave alive. Once the shuttle disappeared into the distance, Captain Riley stood on the observation deck for a long moment, watching the faint glow of Imperial engines far away. His crew did not disturb him. They understood he was thinking several steps ahead, as Terran officers were trained to do. On the Empire flagship, anxiety spread through every corridor like a silent storm. The diplomatic team hurried directly to the main command room without removing their gear or catching their breath. Commander Vathan stood waiting, his hands clasped behind his back, forcing a calm expression he did not feel. When he saw the envoy's face, his fake calm nearly cracked. "Report," he demanded. Envoy Terrell swallowed before speaking. "Commander, the Terrans are not bluffing. Their technology is real. Their ship is strange. Nothing like ours. Nothing like anything." The other diplomats nodded quickly, almost too quickly, like people frightened to disagree. Vathan frowned. "Explain." Terrell searched for simple words. "Their ship does not shine. It does not spark, but every surface feels like it is holding power. Even when the crew stands still, the air around them seems charged. And they showed us nothing, absolutely nothing. They revealed only empty halls, but those halls felt like cages for something bigger." Commander Vathan paused. He was a veteran officer who had fought pirates, rebels, and even rogue AI fleets. He had never heard an envoy speak with such fear. "The captain," Terrell added softly, "is calm in a way that is not normal. Not arrogance, not confidence. Something else, like he has seen more than we could imagine." Vathan stared at him, and for a moment, neither man spoke. Meanwhile, aboard the horizon, the ship's crew returned to their regular routines. Diagnostics hummed in the background, soft and rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Terran ships were alive in a sense not biological, but built with adaptive systems that learned from their crew. Every time someone walked down a hallway, The sensors memorized their energy signature. Every time someone ran a test, the horizon stored the pattern. It was a partner, not a machine. Riley walked into the main control room, where his officers gathered around the central table. Holoscreens floated in the air, showing faint blue shapes representing the Empire fleet. Lieutenant Mara turned toward him. "Captain, the Empire is not retreating. They are talking, arguing, scanning us again and again. It feels like something is building," another officer, Yelen, added. "Their long-range communication arrays have been active non-stop. They're asking for reinforcements. That can't be good." Riley studied the holo map with steady eyes. He wasn't surprised. He knew this pattern. He had seen it in simulations and real encounters with hostile species beyond the old wormhole. Fear leads to mistakes. Pride leads to conflict. But a mix of fear and pride leads to something worse. Panic. "We stay peaceful," he said, "but prepare defensive systems, not to threaten them, just to avoid surprises." Yelen nodded. "Aye, Captain." The ship's interior lights brightened slightly as the horizon acknowledged the order. Terran vessels did not wait for commands. They listened like living minds, only acting fully when needed. Hours passed. The Empire fleet kept shifting in odd formations, changing positions, adjusting distances. It looked less like strategy and more like argument. Should they attack? Should they flee? Should they try again to talk? No one seemed to know. Then the Empire flagship sent a new hail request. "Captain," Mara said, "they're asking to reopen communications. Put them through," Riley replied. The holo-projector flickered again, forming the image of Commander Vathan. He seemed even more tense than before. His voice trembled slightly. "Terran Captain, we appreciate your openness, but the Empire must understand your power more clearly. We must ensure you are not a threat." Riley said nothing for a moment. "That depends entirely on you." Vathan winced. "Our scientists do not believe your ship could exist without using forbidden energy sources. We request access to your engines." A small inspection. Riley raised an eyebrow. "You want to board a Terran warship and examine its core?" Vathan forced a smile. "A peaceful examination." Riley studied the man's face. He could almost hear the Empire's strategy. They wanted to learn Terran's secrets. They wanted control. They wanted advantage. "No," Riley said simply. Vathan blinked. "No, you may observe from a safe distance, but no foreign officer will step into our core rooms, ever." The commander's composure cracked for a heartbeat. "Captain, the Empire cannot accept that answer." "No," Riley repeated. "You cannot control it." "That is different." The channel went silent for 3 long seconds. Then the holo image vanished. Mara let out a sigh. "That did not help. It wasn't meant to," Riley said. "Telling the truth is rarely helpful to empires." A warning chime filled the bridge. Yelen checked his readings and stiffened. "Captain, 3 new Empire warships just arrived. Heavies. Their weapons are charged." The crew didn't panic. Their movement stayed smooth and controlled. But the tension grew heavier in the room. Riley looked at the holo map again. "I hope they were smarter than this." Another chime. "More ships. More heat signatures. More targeting scans. They're surrounding us," Mara whispered. Riley's eyes narrowed slightly. "Then we'll show them exactly why that is a terrible idea." The horizon's lights dimmed as the ship prepared itself, far away, on the Empire flagship. Someone finally spoke the order everyone had been waiting for. "Begin the ambush." And the galaxy would never forget what happened next. Mara added, "They've activated a gravity net. If they lock it fully, we won't be able to slip into folded space without breaking their system. And breaking it would damage their ships." Riley nodded. "We won't do that. Too dangerous." Yelen glanced at him. "Should we prepare weapons?" "No," Riley said. "Not unless they fire first. Let them believe they have control. It might make them hesitate." The crew exchanged quick glances. They trusted Riley, but even they could feel the pressure now. The horizon's hull vibrated faintly as the Empire fleet boosted their net field. Tiny sparks of interference flickered along the observation deck windows. Mara looked at the captain again. "Riley, what do you expect them to do?" He answered with a tired breath. "Exactly what frightened powers do. Something stupid." Back on the flagship, Commander Vathan straightened himself. "Signal all ships. Begin Phase 1. Lock the net. A wave of energy rippled through space as the Empire fleet tightened their formation, linking their gravity anchors. The horizon's movement slowed, then stopped entirely. The ship was now trapped inside an invisible cage, strong enough to hold a small moon in place. Net fully locked, an officer reported. Terran ship immobilized. Good, Vathan said. He hesitated only a second before giving the next order. Charge weapons. Aim at their engines. One volley will disable them, hopefully without triggering a chain reaction. Before the weapons even warmed, a message suddenly appeared on every ship's display. It wasn't a transmission. It wasn't a hack. It was just a single line of text. This is your final warning. Do not fire. Vathan's heart jumped. How did they, sir? A technician shouted. We didn't receive that message through comms. It appeared inside our systems. Everything at once, another officer added. Same here, sir. Ship-wide. Fleet-wide. Vathan clenched his jaw. Ignore it. The horizon cannot break the net. They are only trying to scare us. He raised his hand. Fire. He raised his hand. Fire. At that exact moment, lights inside the horizon dimmed, then brightened with a smooth pulse. No alarms sounded. No weapons activated. Instead, a quiet hum filled the ship like a heavy breath. Yaqeen stared at his console. Captain, the horizon is activating the veil. Mara's eyes widened. But we didn't command it. Riley exhaled. No, it decided. Outside, the Terran ship changed. A shimmer spread out from the hull. Space itself rippled, bending like liquid. The Empire's gravity net flickered violently, its anchors whining under strain. On the flagship, officers panicked. Gravity net destabilizing. Energy readings off the scale. It's warping our own fields. Sir, what do we do? Commander Vathan froze. The Terran ship wasn't fighting. It wasn't escaping. It was simply refusing to be held. Suddenly, the gravity net collapsed with a soundless flash. Empire ships jerked violently out of formation, thrown off by their own disrupted fields. Before they could recover, the horizon vanished. It didn't jump. It didn't accelerate. It didn't warp in a traditional sense. It folded into a thin line of light, and was gone. No, Vathan whispered, staring at the empty space. We never even touched them. Silence filled the flagship. Officers looked pale and shaken. Then another message appeared on every screen in the fleet. Gentle and cold, Earth does not seek war, but Earth will not be chained. Riley's voice, and even though the horizon was gone, the Empire felt the weight of the words like thunder rolling through their bones. Commander Vathan lowered his head. What have we just awakened? No one in the galaxy had the answer, but everyone felt the same chill. The horizon reappeared in normal space halfway across the sector, gliding out of folded reality like a shadow returning to the light. The stars around it shimmered from the aftereffects of the fold, tiny ripples spreading outward before fading into the background of the universe. The ship resumed normal flight automatically, its systems humming calmly, as if it had not just escaped one of the largest traps the Empire had ever deployed. Captain Riley stepped onto the bridge just as the fold field collapsed behind them. His expression stayed calm, but his crew could sense the weight in his posture. He took a slow breath and looked at the navigation officer. Report. We are clear, Captain, Yaqeen said. No Empire ships within range. They're scrambling at the last known location. They won't know where we emerged. Mara added, most of their fleets won't believe what happened. They'll think it was a sensor glitch or an illusion. Nobody expects a ship to break a gravity net by bending it. Riley nodded. Good, that buys us time. But even as he said it, he knew time would not be enough. The Empire had just learned something they never wanted to learn. They were not the strongest force in the galaxy. And when an Empire discovers that truth, fear does not fade. Fear evolves. The crew returned to their stations, but the silence carried tension. The horizon systems were stable, yet the ship felt more alert. Its adaptive core watching, learning, preparing. It had responded to the Empire's attack on its own initiative, not out of defiance, but out of deep programming. Protect the crew at all costs. Riley walked to the observation window and studied the stars. They will not let this go, he said softly. Mara joined him. It's not just pride, is it? No, Riley answered. It's survival. The Empire runs on control. If they can't understand something, they fear it. And if they fear it, they try to destroy it. Mara gave a faint smile. They can't destroy us, maybe not us, Riley said. But they'll try to destroy anything connected to humans. And that includes colonies, allies, anyone they think might know something. A heaviness settled over the bridge. Meanwhile, on the Empire flagship, panic clashed with outrage. Officers shouted across the command pit, trying to make sense of the data pouring in from nearby ships. Screens flickered, energy graphs spiked and flatlined, and half the readings contradicted each other. Commander Vathan stood in the center, silent as chaos swirled around him. He barely heard the technicians shouting. Gravity net collapsed. Our ships lost targeting for almost 30 seconds. Warp signatures corrupted none match known patterns. The Terran vessel vanished without entering hyperspace. Vathan rubbed his temples. His mind replayed what he had seen. The horizon shimmering, the net twisting, space folding like paper. He had read reports of exotic drives before, but nothing like this. No known engine could do this. Not even outlaw tech. Not even dark science, bent by the Empire itself. A cold fear settled in his chest. He turned to his second-in-command. Send a full report to High Command and tell them we need researchers, mathematicians, physicists, anyone who can explain what we saw. His officer hesitated. Sir, some think we should stop, that we should let the Terrans go. Vathan shook his head. We can't stop. If we let something that powerful move freely, the Empire's people will never sleep again. High above the Empire's capital world, the Imperial Palace buzzed with frantic activity. Advisors whispered around the Emperor, carrying fear like a disease. One advisor displayed the last message the Terran ship sent, the simple line that had appeared in every system. Earth will not be chained. The Emperor stared at those words, his expression unreadable. Then he spoke with a soft, dangerous voice. Prepare the Ascendant Protocol. His advisors froze in horror. But, Your Radiance, that is for war with hostile civilizations, entire species. The cost, do it, the Emperor repeated. We cannot show weakness. Not to these humans, the advisors bowed, their faces pale. The Empire had many secrets, but the Ascendant Protocol was one of its darkest. A plan to create fleets devoted not to control, but to annihilation. Back aboard the horizon, the Terran crew received new sensor flashes, Empire ships moving in strange patterns far away. Unusual energy spikes, planetary communications scrambling. Something big was forming. Yelen frowned at his station. Captain, I think they're activating a major military protocol. Mara ran a deeper scan. Yes, this pattern matches the Empire's historical emergency responses, the ones they used against civilizations they tried to wipe out. Riley felt a cold calm settle inside him. Then they've made their choice. The crew braced themselves as the horizon plotted a new course, one that would take them deeper into Imperial territory, not away from it. The ship hummed as if approving the decision. Jan looked at Riley with surprise. We're going toward them? Yes, Riley said. If they're preparing the Ascendant Protocol, they're not planning to attack just us. They'll strike any world they fear we might come from. Mara swallowed. So what's the plan? Riley turned toward the starfield, his voice steady. We show them something worse than fear. Lights along the horizon brightened as if the ship understood. Mara stared out the window. What are we going to do? Riley answered quietly. We're going to remind the galaxy what humans can become. The horizon slipped through deep space like a quiet storm, gathering strength. Every system hummed with heightened awareness, the panels glowing with a steady pulse that matched the rhythm of the ship's adaptive core. Captain Riley stood at the center of the bridge, watching the holomap slowly update. The Empire was moving faster now, too fast for simple fear. Something larger, something hidden, had been triggered deep inside their command structure. Yelen zoomed out the star chart, showing a cluster of glowing markers spreading like wildfire. Captain, these fleets are not standard patrol groups. They're pulling ships from border zones and internal sectors. This formation is not defensive, it's converging. Mara added, they're hiding it behind scrambled broadcasts, but the pattern is clear. They're activating the Ascendant Protocol. Riley nodded grimly. Exactly what I feared. No one spoke for several seconds. The Horizon's crew knew the Empire's history well. Before humanity vanished behind the old wormhole centuries ago, Terran scouts had recorded multiple civilizations that simply disappeared. Entire star clusters that once held life were now empty, silent, burned clean. Later analysis suggested the Empire had used the Ascendant Protocol mass planetary sterilization, followed by total erasure of surviving cultures. Jen whispered, "If they think humans are a threat, they won't stop at us. They'll target systems they believe might have Terran influence, outposts, colonies, trading worlds." Mara clenched her fists. "They might even attack their own frontier planets, just to make sure no one can hide us." Riley's voice remained steady, but his eyes hardened. "We can't allow that." The Horizon felt the shift in his tone. Lights along the walls brightened to a soft silver. The ship's engines drifted into a deeper hum, the kind that suggested readiness not for escape, but for confrontation. Riley looked at the crew. "Prepare the veil again, and bring us closer to the Ascendant assembly points. Not into the middle, just close enough for a clear view." Yelen blinked. "Captain, if we get too close, they'll try again to trap us." "They will," Riley said. "But this time, we're not here to run." The Horizon adjusted its trajectory, gliding silently through the star lanes. Every few minutes, the ship folded briefly around small pockets of space, skipping past sensors and patrols with movements that looked impossible from the outside. The Empire had no way to track such motion. Their sensors were built for warp signatures, not for something that slid between space itself. Hours later, the ship reached a dark region filled with drifting debris and cold asteroids. It was the perfect hiding ground. Riley ordered the ship to anchor behind a cluster of shattered rock. Ahead of them, in the distance, an enormous fleet gathered. Mara's voice softened with awe and dread. "That is the largest force I've ever seen." Yelen scanned the massive structure at the fleet's heart, the Ascendant hub. "Captain, they brought it out of reserve. That's a planetary purifier. Those things can tear apart biospheres in hours." Riley studied the hologram. The purifier was shaped like a dark ring, rotating with slow menace. Inside the ring, unstable energy boiled, swirling in chaotic patterns. It was not designed for peace. It was a weapon meant for extinction. Mara swallowed. "They aren't planning a war against just humans. They're planning to cleanse entire regions." Riley nodded. "Unless we stop them." For the first time, the Horizon crew felt something rare: uncertainty. They had the most advanced ship in known space. But the Ascendant Protocol wasn't a simple fleet, it was a doctrine, a plan of terror perfected over centuries. Even with the Horizon's technology, even with human ingenuity, the Empire's sheer numbers were overwhelming. Then something unexpected happened. The Horizon spoke. It was not a human voice. It was soft, calm, and resonant like a gentle vibration through the air. The adaptive core had been silent since the ship launched, but now it reached out. "Captain Riley," the voice said, "I have assessed the threat. The Empire's Ascendant forces cannot be defeated directly without unacceptable loss of life." The crew froze. The ship had never spoken before. Riley turned slowly. "Horizon, why speak now?" "Because," the ship answered, "the Empire prepares to purge every world within range of your species' possible origin. My protocols require that I preserve Terran life." Mara whispered. "The ship is worried." The Horizon continued. "There's a non-violent strategy available." Riley's eyes narrowed. "Explain." A soft pulse flowed through the bridge displays. The holomap expanded, zooming into the Ascendant hub's energy signature. The picture sharpened, showing a weak point, a place the Empire had hidden badly. "The structure is powered by a singularity core," the Horizon said. "Its stability depends on a precise energy field. I can destabilize the field without detonating the purifier. If its power collapses quietly, the Empire will not notice our interference. They will believe the device failed." Yelen stared. "You can do that?" "Yes," the Horizon replied. "I was built to protect humanity." Quietly, Riley let out a long breath. "So we hit their weapon, not their fleet." "Correct," the Horizon said. "Once the core collapses, the Ascendant Protocol cannot proceed. Their doctrine requires immediate success." A silent failure will force them to retreat for analysis. Mara looked at Riley. This could work. Riley nodded slowly. Do it, Horizon. But make it clean. No one dies. Understood, the ship said. The lights dimmed, the engines quieted, and a faint hum grew deeper, older, like the sound of ancient storms. The horizon extended a thin field of folded space, invisible to any Empire sensor. And then it reached toward the heart of the Empire's deadliest weapon. Not with fire, not with force, with precision, and with a message that would soon echo across the galaxy. Humans had survived the impossible, and now they would not allow extinction to return. The horizon released its folded space field like a whisper. Nothing bright, nothing violent, only a gentle ripple that moved faster than light, sliding silently across the void until it touched the Ascendant hub's swirling singularity core. The immense ring kept spinning, unaware of what brushed against it. Empire ships continued forming tight formations around the device, officers shouting orders and updates, never imagining that the most dangerous threat in the galaxy was a ship they could no longer detect. Inside the Purifier, deep within its rotating heart, something shifted. It was so small, so subtle, that even the Empire's best sensors failed to notice it. A single stabilizer field blinked once. Just a flicker. Such a tiny change should have meant nothing. But the Horizon understood how these weapons worked. Captain Riley watched the energy graph change in quiet anticipation. Yulin stared at his console with wide eyes. Field destabilization is beginning. At this rate, the core will collapse into a harmless void pocket, Mara whispered. And no one will know we caused it. Riley nodded. Good. Let the Empire believe their weapon malfunctioned. Pride will make them doubt themselves before they ever doubt us. The Horizon kept working. No sound except the soft hum of its folded engines. The destabilization grew, the Purifier's core shaking ever so slightly within its containment ring. But still no alarms triggered. No warnings appeared. To the Empire, everything looked normal. Then, without any dramatic flash or explosion, the core simply dimmed. The unstable energy spiraled inward and vanished, leaving a cold, silent ring drifting in space. On the Empire flagship, panic erupted. Core failure. Primary reaction is gone. Singularity collapsed with no detectable cause. We've lost the Purifier. The Ascendant protocol cannot proceed. Commander Vathan scanned the result with trembling hands. The Ascendant hub, an ancient symbol of Empire dominance, now floated powerless and harmless like a broken relic. How? He demanded. What happened? No officer had an answer. The data showed no attack, no energy spike, no foreign signal, nothing. It looked like a natural failure, something that should have been impossible. A young officer finally whispered, Sir, maybe the device was flawed. Vathan stared at him. No Imperial device fails on its own. But he could not deny the truth on the screen. The Purifier was gone. Every ship in the fleet slowly turned toward the flagship, waiting for orders. No one dared speak of humans. No one dared even think of them. Fear had been replaced by confusion, and confusion was far more dangerous for an empire built on certainty. Back aboard the Horizon, the tension slowly faded. The ship's lights softened. The hum returned to normal depth. The danger, at least for now, had passed. Mara let out a long breath. We did it. The Purifier is dead. They can't launch a purge. Yulin leaned back in his chair, shaking his head. I almost can't believe it. A silent strike. No casualties. No fleet battle. Riley allowed himself a small smile. Humanity doesn't win by being loud. We win by being clever. But the Horizon's voice returned, soft and calm. Captain Riley, more consequences are forming. The Empire is entering a state of internal conflict. Their fleets are confused. Some commanders reject the Ascendant protocol. Others demand retaliation. Mara's excitement faded. So this isn't over. No, Riley said. This was never going to end in one move. But we bought time. And time is all humans need. The Horizon shifted course, gliding away from the asteroid field. Stars stretched out like silver rivers ahead of them. The ship moved with silent confidence, as if it knew exactly where to go next. Riley walked to the window, hands behind his back, set a course for the outer border. If the Empire is going to fracture, We need to be far enough to watch without being dragged into the fire. Yes, Captain, the crew responded. As the horizon prepared to jump, something unusual appeared on the sensors, a small lone ship drifting nearby. No weapons, no escorts, just a single Empire courier vessel broadcasting an open message. Yelen frowned. It's not a trap, at least. It doesn't look like one. Put it through, Riley said. A hologram flickered to life, a young Empire officer with shaking hands and honest, frightened eyes. Terran vessel. This message is not from the Empire. It's from me. The crew exchanged surprised looks. My name is Eridan Soul. The officer continued. I don't know what your people want, but I saw what the Empire planned to do. I saw what the Purifier was built for. Many of us did. We don't support it. Riley studied the man carefully. Why contact us? Eridan swallowed hard. Because some of us believe the Empire needs to change. We believe maybe humans can help make that change. A power the Empire can't bully might be the only thing that forces it to stop, Mara whispered. He's risking execution just by saying that. Riley stepped closer. And what do you want from us, Eridan Soul? The young officer looked straight into the holo camera, eyes firm despite his shaking voice. I want you to know, not everyone in the Empire is your enemy. Some of us want peace. We want something better. If you return, we will be waiting. The message ended abruptly. The courier ship turned, engines flickering as it fled into the darkness. Silence held the horizon's bridge for several seconds. Finally, Mara spoke. Captain, does this change things? Riley nodded slowly. Yes, it does. The horizon's engines brightened, preparing one final full jump. The stars bent around them like a curtain. Riley whispered, the galaxy thinks humans are monsters returned from myth. Then he smiled. Faintly, let's show them what we really are. The horizon folded into light and vanished, leaving behind an empire that would never be the same. And a future that had just begun to tremble, the same. And a future that had just begun to tremble.